You see them online, real estate entrepreneurs. But how are they doing it? And what are they doing different? We've got the answers. This is the Real Estate Block. Interviewing real estate entrepreneurs doing consistent real estate deals. If you want to be a real estate entrepreneur or you're already in the business, we've got on the pros that give the secrets and strategies to make it happen. This is the Real Estate Block, and this is your host, Aaron Gaunt.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Real Estate Block podcast, where the value given during this show will help you find and create consistent real estate deals, where we bring on real estate entrepreneurs doing deals month after month. We'll be taking a deep dive and asking them the hard questions on what their team looks like, their marketing strategies, their systems and processes that built them a machine that produces consistent real estate deals. Today, I have Scott, my good buddy on the show here. I am just all over the place. I'm sorry, it's the afternoon. But I have my good buddy Scott here on the show, and you are crushing it in your market. Tell us who you are and why the heck did you join real estate?
What's up, Aaron? Yeah, good to see you, man. It's been a while since we've seen each other in person. I know we've talked on the phone, but my name is Scott Dalinger. I'm up here in the Portland, Oregon market. We wholesale and do deals all over the state of Oregon, but our bread and butter is basically the Portland metro area. We do a bit in Eugene, a few other markets within Oregon. And we have been doing this since 2000. We've been doing deals since 2019. I started trying to wholesale back in 2018.
That's awesome, man. I know, like I said, you do wholesale right now. You're doing, I know you're doing some flips. I think you got some rentals. Let me ask you this. What did you do prior to real estate? And then again, why did you get into this world of real estate?
Yeah. So prior to real estate, I had a series of corporate jobs. So I did some Latin America sales for Red Wing shoes for a couple of years. And that was an awesome experience. I'd travel all over Latin America and Mexico, the Caribbean. And that was really cool. Then that market changed and we sold a lot to oil and gas companies. So I had to pivot and went into coffee. So green coffee importing. And I was a salesperson selling green coffee to like basically hipster coffee roasters in the United States. So I'd go up and down the West Coast, and that was interesting. They're an interesting breed. After that, I got into a company called ProMat, which was basically a Belgian-owned company that makes high-tech, high-performance insulation materials. And my customer segment was aerospace, rail, and then defense. So I was selling these, high-tech materials to manufacturers that would then, take our product and then put it on an airplane around an engine and things like that. Wow. And in some defense applications as well. So I've always been doing some sort of sales. In the last one before, the ProMat job, I would travel all over the United States and Canada and sometimes Mexico and go to Europe occasionally to visit with the factory. And I loved it, really loved the lifestyle. But what got me into real estate was I saw that my income was always going to be at a certain level and capped, because when you are working a W-2 job, unless there's some really good ones out there, like in tech and probably some other stuff too, where you could do sales and you write your own ticket based on what you sell with commissions. But the company I was working for, being European owned, they give you really good benefits, but also they don't want you to make too much. So just feeling a little capped and had higher financial aspirations, and made a decision to learn real estate. And I started deep diving all the podcasts and learning all the strategies. And the ones that I really liked were all the wholesaler episodes, because it seemed so like the checks seemed much bigger than the rental property guys that were making, they would do a deal, it takes 6 months, and then they make $300 a month. I was doing the math. I'm like, man, that's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time to have any sort of financial freedom. So I decided to go with wholesaling.
Wow. So, okay. So you're listening to these podcasts. One, what were the podcasts? And then how did you get your first deal, and how long did it take to get your first deal?
Yeah. In the very beginning, it was Bigger Pockets. Listened to dozens, maybe, 100 episodes. I think everyone starts there, and heard all the strategies. And so that was the first one. Then it was, once I settled on wholesaling, it was Wholesaling Inc. So I listened to that podcast back when they had Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffine and Brent Daniels. So those episodes were shorter. I could sit in the car for 15, 20 minutes and, hear an interview. And so that got me really jazzed. It was just like full wholesaling. It was a bunch of their students that were doing deals. And that, got me to sign up with them. And then I basically tried for a full year almost in California to do a deal in Southern California, actually close to where you are.
Right.
And I think maybe where you're now doing deals, I was in Orange County and I lived in Mission Viejo. I would try to wholesale in, our up and coming markets, which were Santa Ana and Anaheim and Garden Grove and places like that. And I never cracked it, never did a deal there. I was sending direct mail as much as we could afford on a consistent basis, but never did a deal. So that was almost a full year I tried in SoCal. Then I started, I was determined to make this work. So I was willing to change markets. And I sent some direct mail to Portland where I have family. And the phone actually started to ring with motivated sellers. So that was kind of all the proof of concept I needed to make a move. So my wife and I, we moved up to Portland and started to do lead follow-up. And it didn't take long. It was about 3 months in when we closed our first deal.
Wow. And what did that deal look like? And were you still at your 9-to-5 doing sales?
Yeah. It's never a 9-to-5 if you're working hard, but I was still doing that job. And I was on, so what that deal looked like is it was a cold call that I made. And actually it was before I even lived up in Portland. So I sent my mom, who was up here, on the appointment, and my mom got close to inking a deal but the seller just wasn't ready. So then I did follow up. And after I moved up here, I kept trying to call her. She never would pick up the phone. So one day I just door knocked her because I felt like it was hot. And she said, come in. And so I sat in her living room and went through all the obstacles. And 45 minutes later, I left with the signed contract. And that deal, so I locked it up for $180,000. And ARV at the time was probably 330, no, more like 350. And we assigned it for 232. So we made $52,000 on that deal.
And then you quit your job.
I gave notice. Gave a 90-day notice. What was really wild was I was still traveling a lot on business. So I had my wife and my mom go out and do the cash buyer inspections and do all the negotiations and dispo process. And, it was the good old days when we had 10, 15 buyers show up to the walkthrough and a bunch of offers. And so that's the story of my first deal.
That's awesome, man. And so you said you gave your notice, because here's the thing. A lot of people who want to get into real estate, because it's not a first deal podcast. This is a, how are we doing? How can I get and do a consistent deal? How are these guys? And because obviously you're crushing it now. The guys who I have on it are crushing it, and they're going to go through this next recession. And we're going to talk more about that here shortly. But when did you decide to quit your 9-to-5? Because a lot of people who get into real estate want to quit their 9-to-5.
Yeah. Well, when I got that first deal and put it under contract and sent out the marketing, we got a bunch of response. I gave notice right away before we even assigned it. I just knew it was a good one. And because I had enough proof of concept with the interest with sending out marketing and having motivated sellers call me, I knew that I could repeat it. I mean, when I say I knew, I hadn't proved it yet. So it's all faith at that point before you've done a deal. It's all faith that you're going to close it, faith that you're going to be able to do more. But I believed that wholesaling was real and that it worked, and that if we could do this one, we could do more. So I took a leap of faith. What I knew is that I couldn't continue to do both things at the same time for much longer.
Gotcha. And I know you do some flips now too, and I think you own some rentals now. How long did it take you to start actually doing flips?
Yeah. So our first year in 2019, we just wholesaled. Our next year in 2020, we started off just wholesaling. We did our first flip. We bought around January or February. And that one was, it was good. We made money on it. I think we made $40,000. And, I learned quickly that it really sidetracks you from the wholesaling business. If you're just a one-man show or a small operation. So our next flip was in the summer of 2020. And I said, okay, I really need to focus and make sure the wholesaling business is healthy. So I had my wife project manage that flip and basically, do it all without me. And I'd help out a little here and there, like picking up appliances after hours, but mostly it was her. And that worked a lot better with me just staying out of it. I said, don't ask me questions. You make all the decisions. And, she's part of the business. This directly benefits our family. So she's highly motivated and attuned to making sure that we were profitable and making, good decisions on the flip. So that was our second one. And I think we only did 2 that year. That one also we did well on. And then I looked at the numbers at the end of the year. I'm like, okay, our wholesale deals were about $20,000 a deal. Our flipping was like $50,000 a deal. We made 40 on one, 60 on another. And we did 2 deals. And so I said, okay, if I break it down like this, flipping is really profitable. Let's double our flipping for 2021. Oh, wow. So 2021, we put a saying on our wall, which was maximize profit per deal. So maximize PPD, we call it PPD. So we started to look at, okay, yes, we could wholesale something quickly for 20 or 25 or 30, but what if we actually go through the extra effort and take it down? What could we make? And so we'd start to analyze deals that way. And, if we thought that we can make maybe 60, but we could wholesale for 30. And if it wasn't a huge fixer, then we go through the extra effort. And I believe we did double the flips, not quite, but maybe we did 4 flips last year. And there was a big one. So we did a 100K deal.
Nice.
It was a crazy market last year.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. So, everyone that was dabbling in that, I think, did well. And even into this year, the beginning of this year, we had another big deal like that when the market was still in the upswing. So, yeah, we continue to wholesale, but we've added that. And I just consider it like a division in my business. So acquisitions goes out and gets a deal. And then me as the owner, I make the decision, is this a rental or is this a flip or is this a wholesale deal? And if it's a flip, then I pass it off to my wife. And now we have a project manager also. Since we started having kids, we've had a couple babies now in the last 2 years. So we have a project manager who's helping us and doing a great job. And so when we do a flip or a rental, we'll give it to her and she runs with it. And if it's wholesale, then our dispo guy does the dispo.
Awesome. And so what capital are you using? Your own capital? Or are you using hard money to take down these flips?
So hard money, we always use hard money. And hard money is, most people know, you have to put down a down payment. It used to be 10% we could do. And now everyone is at 15%. So for
did that change? Did that change just recently?
Oh yeah. I'm not sure what it's like in California, but up here it used to be 15 and 20%. Then when things got, during the boom times of 2020, 2021, everyone kind of dropped to 10% down if the deal was good. And then more recently, when the stuff hit the fan, it went to 20% down. Now it's like 15% down. So we would use our own savings for that, which was, kind of a wild ride because we'd make money, we'd put in the bank, and then all of a sudden it's gone again because we're putting down these down payments and then fronting the rehab costs, which then we later need to take draws on. So that's something like we've always never been super great at, but I learned actually the importance of private money. So last year, one of my focuses was to line up private money relationships.
Nice.
So my mom started to lend us a bit, and
that's awesome.
My ex-boss at the insulation company started to become a private money lender. And there was a seller that I really hit it off with that started lending me money. So
really? Nice.
Yeah. So I'd start to combine, I would borrow the down payments and then use hard money for the other 85 or 90%, and then come into the deals with no money or very little out of pocket. And then I would pay everybody, hard money gets their interest rate. I'd pay my private lenders an interest rate. And then we'd repeat that. So
wow.
Lately, my bookkeeper's like, you need to start to get some credit. Cause like we didn't have credit cards. We didn't have any credit. And so that's something we recently went out and did. We got a credit line on the business, and that's kind of like rocket fuel because I don't need to go borrow money from, I probably still will, but I don't have to go to a private lender now. Cause I was always like, oh, are they going to say yes? You never knew. It was a bit stressful. with the credit line, yeah, I just bought a property that we're going to do a quick wholesale deal using the credit line
Nice.
for the down payment. So I'm still geeking out about that.
That's pretty cool. Tell us more about that. Is that through a bank, a credit union? What does that look like?
That was a bank. Yeah, actually KeyBank.
KeyBank?
KeyBank.
Is that like a local bank?
They're national. Yeah.
Okay.
And I hadn't really ever heard of them or noticed them, but once someone told me about them, I started to see them everywhere. I think they're almost all 50 states.
We'll have to check them out. I mean, we have our American Express that we put on our marketing, and then we pay it off at the end of the month. But I would like to know a little bit more about that credit line. I mean, how much do they give you? And this is the put down the 15%. Like, what does that look like?
So they gave us a 100K credit line based on my business.
Wow. Okay.
And it was like really easy. We just showed our financials, but it was a friend that made that recommendation because we were using a different, really well-known bank, and they were just not partners with us. They would have our accounts to hold our money, and that was it. And when I needed credit, they just said no, too many inquiries. So I'm sitting around the campfire drinking whiskey and lamenting about this with one of my real estate buddies. And he goes, dude, you got to talk with my gal over at KeyBank. And so he made that connection. All of a sudden, that solved that problem. So just shows you the power of connections.
Right. There you go. Whiskey and campfires.
Yeah. Which is actually something up here in Portland. Like, we have a really solid group of mostly guys that are kind of on that same page. We're all trying to grow our businesses. Everyone's an investor. Most are realtors. We're all trying to, keep growing, doing deals. And so we will meet up about once a month. We'll have we call it Gentlemen's Dinner Club, and we'll come with a topic prepared to discuss. And, and then normally ends with some whiskey around a fire, which is when the really good conversation comes out. Exactly.
No, that's incredible. And that's where I want to go with this podcast. Everybody has to come on here with some whiskey to get really truthful, right? Because I know we always put our best foot forward on this. When you go on a podcast, you want to be good. But what I'm trying to really get out of this podcast is that we really just bring it real, right? We talk about our struggles. We talk about how we built it. We talk about because that's when I'm getting a lot more vulnerable. Not trying to say like, look at me, look at all this money I've been making, right? But also to really get out of the people that come on this show of, what are you doing to get to consistent deal flow, right? What are you doing to get through this market correction?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Scott. How did you break through the struggle of doing, a deal here and there back in 2019, 2020?
Yeah.
To doing now as a business owner to do consistent deal flow. If I was a new person or just a person just doing a couple deals, what's the one advice that you would give me so I could get consistent deal flow?
Well, like, first off, is anyone who is consistent knows is you have to never stop marketing. You have to always be doing your marketing, never turn that off.
Yeah.
And then systematize it, because us as the owners and the entrepreneurs, we're running a lot of different directions. We're thinking big thoughts. We're getting involved in the nitty gritty on deals, and we're not thinking about, did I pay for the direct mail to go out? So that needs to be farmed out immediately to an assistant.
Yeah.
Or if you have a spouse working in your business, have someone else take responsibility for that and make sure it happens on repeat. So that's number one. And that goes with any market channel. If you're cold calling, same thing. You need to systematize it and make sure it never gets turned off. So you always have consistent lead flow, even during the holidays.
Yep.
So that's the number one fundamental. And number two was, the next big breakthrough was really starting to build a team and empower other people and putting some really good guys on my team.
Nice. And actually, it goes right into my next question. Scott, what does your team look like now?
Yeah. So I have Dylan, who's my lead acquisition manager. And Dylan, when it was just me, I hired him to drive for dollars. Then I promoted him to cold calling. And then he took over. He didn't take over. He actually figured out text messaging. So I said, hey, figure this out. We want to start doing it. So he started doing that. And that's all since been delegated to other people. So, and then Dylan was promoted to acquisition. So he's doing acquisitions. And recently and then last year I had a different acquisitions guy that we added to the mix, and he's no longer with the company. And then we have someone else who's replaced him, who's doing a good job. That's Taylor. And then we have a driver and dispo guy. So Tony is doing both of those roles. We have a couple cold callers from the Philippines. My wife handles a lot of the administrative stuff. So bills, bookkeeping, and I have a project manager.
Nice. So lean and mean.
That's how we're trying to keep it. Yeah.
No, 100%. I've said this on the podcast a couple times, is I had 4 acquisition guys at one point, and now I'm literally this past month, I'm the sole acquisition guy, and we do have another acquisition guy starting next week, and just keep in mind, like I said, best month we've been in was last month, so we're learning how to build that sales team and to keep it going. Now, you said you have 2 acquisition guys, and little known fact, me and Scott know each other through Driving for Dollars, through Zach Booth, great buddy of ours. And that's, I would say, how we first started really getting our deal flow up and going with Driving for Dollars. Now, we have stopped Driving for Dollars since then. You just said you have a driver. Tell us more about that. Are you still Driving for Dollars?
Actually, I'd recently turned that off too. I'm not sure if that's the best decision. We went many months without getting a deal from Driving for Dollars. It was like 6 months or something. So, that I had this driver driving around pinning houses, and we're spending money on that, and we weren't doing deals from it. A lot of our deals were coming through other lists like probate, eviction, divorce, things like that. And I always know this, that when I look at the numbers at the end of the year, the Driving for Dollars list is always like our best list, or right up there towards the top. And then what we spend on it is always, we make a lot more money than what we spent. But, it was also a long stretch. So we turned that off, and then, promptly we locked up a smoker of a deal from that list, from one of those leads. So, we'll probably have to turn that back on. But also our driver, I put into dispo, because with this more recent market that we've had the last 3-4 months, where things are a lot tougher, I noticed that dispo is now the name of the game. Right. More so, acquisitions will always be there. Of course, that's how you get the deals, but we have to work way harder than we ever did in dispo. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't able, and I'm not able to rely anymore on sending out an email blast and a text blast, and that's it. Like, we have to be following up with buyers. We have to be sending out multiple email blasts, multiple text blasts, posting in all the Facebook groups. I don't have time for all that. And my acquisitions guys, I want them focused on acquisitions. Right. And so I put that on my driver. Then he started to not, hit his pin goals as consistently. So that's something, I guess that's just the stresses of a small business until you really figure it out. But we may need to put a different driver in place, and so that Tony can focus completely on dispo, because he still works a 9 to 5. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot to have a 9 to 5 and be doing driving and be doing dispo for us.
Right. No, Driving for Dollars is, to be truly honest, we locked up a deal last month. I think, how much we make on? I think we dispoed it for $10,000, and we're going to be and gosh, that list was made when we were Driving for Dollars a year and a half ago, and it came from a direct mail piece. Guy he held on to it, and that's beautiful about direct mail. So yeah, Driving for Dollars is always the way to go, I think, to get that consistent deal, or at least to get it started. We're strictly like online right now at this moment. And for us too, we really put it. Yeah. We also put everybody toward dispositions too. Right. We had VAs around our business doing different things, but I was like, y'all need to go all to dispo and start cold calling all buyers right now. Right. Start building those relationships. So absolutely. Right. Dispo is where it's at right now.
So all your marketing is online right now?
Yeah. And then we're cold calling, text messaging, and doing direct mail to very niche lists. Okay. Mostly NODs, pre-foreclosures. And then the rest of it, we're spending like $15,000 right now on PPC. So we're just taking that inbound. And that's kind of what we did too with the market change, is we wanted to focus more on inbound marketing than all that. And then obviously once the market changes back, we'll probably heavily focused back on a lot more outbound.
Is that working well for you, the PPC?
Yeah, we like it right now. We just started about 3 months ago. Okay. We're getting a lot of good leads. Like I said, a lot of the innovations from that. We're also in Texas now, so we're not just in Southern California. As you already know, the West Coast, we got hit hard, right? I'm sure you guys felt it with those high-end markets. So I was like, we got to go. In my mastermind, we were learning that, deals that were, under 250 we're just still moving quick, right? But we needed to do that shift.
Love it. Yeah, we're doing SEO with our website. We've been working really hard on SEO the last 2.5 years, and it's slowly going through the rankings. And when we do get a lead from our website, it's really hot. So that's something actually I'm going to be putting more money into next year is getting into the PPC.
Nice. And that's something we're going to be doing. We want to start focusing on SEO. And I'm glad to hear that 2.5 years. That's fantastic. So
it's like planting a tree, right?
Exactly.
When's it next time to plant a tree? It's like SEO.
Dude, you're way ahead of the game. 2.5 years ago, that's fantastic. I know if I start that now, it's going to take us a good while. So, and that goes into my next question, the marketing, right? So you said you had some cold callers in the Philippines still. You're doing some SEO. Are you still doing direct mail and all that? What is your top marketing source right now?
Yeah, we're still doing direct mail. We're still doing cold calling. We're doing text messaging. That really hasn't been working this year, but we still do it because it's worked in the past. It doesn't cost that much. And then referral, so website, and then referrals. So a lot of just JV leads. People will call us up, and I'll speak at local events sometimes. I'll do podcasts. I
saw that, dude. Yeah.
And so that's give me a call and like, hey, I got this lead. Can you help me with it?
No, and you have this business that works like a machine. So again, that's the whole point I'll have you on the show, because I want people to go bug you. I want people to go JV and collaborate with you. Through this show. I'm glad to see you as a authority figure in your market. And I mean, that's awesome. I love to see that. And I can't wait to keep seeing you grow. And I know you're going to start doing some more online stuff. So yeah. And I saw you speak at that event. How did that go?
That was so much fun. Yeah. So we have this event up in Portland called Investor Lab, and it's been a big event for years. It used to be called Rare Bird. And there's, 150 people that go to those monthly meetings. It was shut down for a long time during COVID, but they're back now and picking up steam again. So I was a panelist at last month's event, and it's just, I don't know, I loved it. So we had whenever I do those, I just really think about what I want to say beforehand and come ready to give value and in a fun way. So I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards and, stoked to hear what I had to say and tell me that they're starting out. And that's one thing. If, anyone listening to this that wants to increase their deal flow, just always think about what you can give. Always give first. So people, whenever anyone calls me that's like getting started or hits me up and they're like, hey, can I take you out for coffee, or can we get lunch? Or I will always say yes. I'll say, come by my office. Or, we meet for coffee or something, or we hop on the phone. And like, sometimes I don't have time for that, but I still do it because I want to pay it forward what other people did to me. And it oftentimes comes back to me. I've gotten employees that way. I've gotten a lot of deals that way. I'll help somebody and give them that time. I forget about it. And then they'll come back to me 6 months later with an opportunity. That's awesome.
And that goes along. That's awesome that you're doing that, Scott. And one thing that I've learned too when I first started out is, I didn't know much about business, but then I found out, and I learned it from Cody Hoffine. I know you're good buddies with Cody Hoffine. And I saw it through a video, is how to add value to, if you want to hit up Scott, the best thing that you could do. I mean, he's nice enough to accept your coffee, but not a lot of people who's consistently running a business like yourself is going to go do the coffee thing, but what I've heard is that, and what I appreciate and what I've done when I reached out to people hire and doing better things than I am at the moment, is I reach out and I say, hey, how can I offer value? Hey, I got all this, or hey, can I get you this? You know what I mean? Like, how can I work for you and doing X, Y, and Z? If you can add value, then they'll be more willing to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes people at the end of the coffee, they will ask me that question. What I'll tell them is, go be successful. Go do a deal.
Scott, let me ask
actions and do a bunch of calls, get a lead, and go close that deal. And if you need help, give me a call.
There you go. Scott, let me ask you this. What is a number one struggle that you're kind of facing with right now? And I mean, just all transparency, what are you struggling with right now?
So when this transition in the market happened 3-4 months ago, our cash buyers just stopped buying. Even when we were locking up like smoker deals that we would have had a bidding war a few months earlier.
Yep.
We had to really scratch and claw to eke out small assignments. So we were renegotiating with sellers, we're following up with all the buyers and trying to just squeeze offers out of them and just create a little bit of spread there to get a deal done. And I realized that that's not going to be maybe enough to survive, but it's not going to be enough to really survive in the long haul, and definitely not to thrive. So what we're trying to do right now to bring in more business is to look at deals from multiple angles and not throw leads away. What I mean by that is if we can do the traditional wholesale, we will. Or if we do lock up a smoker, people are still buying on the market, especially in my market, they're buying starter homes. So those will still sell.
Okay.
And if I think that I could close on something and put it on the market, I'll do that. So that's what we're doing with a couple deals right now. So instead of assigning for a smaller assignment fee, we're closing on them, and then we should be making, maybe 60,000, 80,000 just by doing the wholesale with a little bit of light renovations.
Yeah.
With visual appeal, staging them, replacing the carpets, all things you could do for less than $10,000. So there's that. And also we're looking at, we're trying to figure out novations, which you told me before we started recording that you guys are now doing a lot of business with. So we have 3 deals that we've signed where the sellers are okay with us marketing on the MLS. So we wrote that into our contracts. But what's interesting is in the state of Oregon, nobody's done one yet.
Really?
So the attorneys, the title companies, no one's really quite sure how to execute it and get us paid on them. So that's what we're trying to
Gotcha.
we will figure it out, and maybe I'll call you after this call, but we'll figure that out. And that'll be an additional deal flow because the 3 deals that we've inked, they wanted more than where we needed to be for wholesale price, but they're willing to allow us to do this. We know that we can make good spread by finding a retail buyer. And I also find we've tried this a bit in the past. Everyone's always said no, but sellers are coming around more right now to letting us do that.
Yep, they sure are.
Yeah.
And if you just lay it on the table, have them, pick that option by just explaining it, like, hey, does that sound something like you would want to do?
And then the last thing, just one more thing I wanted to add there about what we're doing to survive this time is creative finance deals that we could then assign. So I'll give you an example. We went out to a house yesterday that's almost new construction. It's 3 years old, beautiful house, big home in kind of a tertiary market of Portland. And they want 525 for it. It's a divorce situation. They need 525. The house is worth as is $600,000 on the market. But for us to wholesale that, we'd still need to be in the 4s, low 4s, maybe middle 4s maximum. For us to take that down with hard money and then list it after realtor fees and closing costs and hard money fees, we wouldn't be making any money. And if we did, it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze because the market could drop more. We could end up losing money. So we're like, how do we monetize this? I know there's motivation, there's high motivation, but they need that 525. So what we're looking at doing right now is there's a VA loan. They have a VA loan at 2.25% interest, and VA loans are transferable. So you could do a legal sub 2. You could transfer that loan to an end buyer. So, we asked them, hey, would you be willing to do the 525 if we took over that mortgage? And they said, yeah, they had no problem with that.
Yeah.
So we started calling, our Salem contacts, realtors that we know in Salem where this deal is. And some of them have buyers, and those buyers are thinking, okay, if I could take over this super low interest rate mortgage, they'd have to come up with 125, 150 in cash. If, for someone that has that, to grab a luxury home for only $125K down and then make $750 to $1,000 a month in cash flow, that's a good deal. And then that house, of course, is going to appreciate a lot long-term. So we think that we have a buyer in place so we're looking at a possible $25,000 assignment fee just by using our brain, right? by using our brain to get creative here, and something we probably would have said there's no deal here in the past. So those are the types of things, the strategies that we're doing right now to get through this time. And, the idea is, of course, not to get through it, but to do a ton of deals after our competitors drop away.
No, and that's 100%. I love it. And that's something I've seen recently. Yeah, a lot of these loans are assumable, and just like VAs. I mean, where'd you come up with that idea? Just by thinking outside the box? Did you see it on social media? What does that look like?
We came up with the idea. I mean, we just asked questions. That's how we learned that it was a VA loan. Even if it wasn't, we'd still try to do that. Just, the way that you always do is sub 2. You just don't tip off the lender that you're doing one.
Right.
But it's extra nice that this is all on, you could be completely transparent with the lender of what you're doing. But we messed around with a couple of these short-term sub 2 deals last year in order to flip properties. So that's for anyone that hasn't, done one of those before. It's great because you don't need to go borrow hard money. Let's say that you and the seller are like close, but can't get quite close enough to agree on a price. Maybe you're at 275, they're at 300. You could say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what if we got you the 300, but instead of paying you right now, we paid you that in 90 days. Would that work for you? We are going to, if we cash you out right now today, it's going to be 275, but what if we could get you the 300, but you have to wait 90 days? Would you be willing to do that? So if they say yes, you just saved yourself a bunch of risk and a bunch of closing costs and hard money costs. Yeah. So you now just assume that mortgage, and typically there's the mortgage balance plus there would be a second in place, but you don't even need to make payments on the second. So I'm talking about the difference between the mortgage balance and whatever purchase price you agree on. You just get them to carry that with no payments for whatever term you're talking about. And then the idea is, you close on it, they move out, you clean it, you put it on the market, and then, you make your profit. When it sells, your end buyer is going to cash out both loans, the second and the first.
Well, I think you just you hit on a key point there. You said no payments. So it's no payments. Are you putting anything down? And is there an interest rate besides the mortgage already?
It's all negotiable, of course. So you can put something down. We did one last year where we put down $10,000.
Okay.
But we did not do any interest rate on the second. We just said you're going to have to wait to get paid on that.
Yeah.
And they were fine with that, right? If people trust you and like you and you're helping them to solve a problem, then they're oftentimes just willing to roll with that because they're not trying to, it's not an investment. That 3-month second position loan is not an investment for them. It's a way to get a deal done. So they're not trying to make interest on it.
And let me ask you this, does your acquisition guy know how to do this?
We're doing them together. So he's learning. They're both learning. Yeah.
Gotcha. And
being that he's been a part of a few of these deals now his mind's kind of working a lot like mine. And he actually in this deal yesterday in Salem brought up some of those questions. So yeah.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad he's, because you're the owner of the business, right? So sometimes you're going to be intimidating to go ask these questions, right? And as much as you encourage them, like, hey, ask me, please ask me so we could help and get this deal done, right? What are you doing to train because I believe Dylan's been with you for a good while. Yeah. You have a second guy and then potentially, turnover could happen. What's your onboarding process look like?
We just put them through the Todd Toback training.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. That's the onboarding.
That's it. Just watch these videos and all right,
watch it. Just watch it, and then let's run some appointments together. That's it.
There you go. Now, are you still doing in person or all over the phone?
Oh yeah, we do in person for sure.
Nice.
Mostly in person. We'll do phone if it's in another part of the state, but otherwise we're doing in person.
Gotcha. How many appointments are you looking at? And how many appointments are you looking at to contract?
I don't know. It's a great question. I should know that, but
I don't know either. Yeah. But yes, we should know that. And I mean, for us, we're doing everything over the phone. I'm in a mastermind with a guy named Eric Brewer. You probably heard of him. But he's like stressing people like, hey, belly this time. When I first started, I was all belly to belly, but everything's over the phone right now, especially here in California.
Aren't you leaving deals on the table? because like this one in Salem yesterday, we wouldn't have got that far down this creative conversation without sitting at the dinner table with the husband.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, obviously you could do that. For us, we've just kind of seen the risk of. Are you running out of batteries, dude?
Yeah, I plugged it out.
No, 100%. In person's always gonna be better. Now, for us, it's gonna be an hour to 2 hour drive to a house, an hour to 2 hour drive back, and then that was just one appointment. Let alone then you still gotta call all your leads. That was the thing, and now I'm able to call all my leads and have 40 dials with 10 good quality conversations in one day.
Yeah.
Rather than just having one and then struggle through the other one. So, I mean, we've been locking these deals up over the phone. So, yeah, it's been working out for us.
Would you say you do more deals doing it this way than you did before with in person?
I would say that. But again, when I was doing in person, it was great. I would because I would go drive, and again, I'm trying to get outside of the acquisition spot again.
Right.
But when I went to go drive and go on these appointments and come back with no contract, man, I did not like it. I wasn't. And again, just because because I'm looking to put myself back in the owner's box, but for me, it was just not how I wanted to see my life. Just because. And we found all the resources, and we built the systems and processes to do everything virtual, even in our own backyard. And if I have to go to a seller's house, I want to make sure I know the price, make sure all the decision makers are there, make sure they're ready to sign the contract. Just because I have a family now, I'm not trying to drive all to Southern California and waste my day. When I come back with no contract, because the first thing when we used to go drive out, is there motivation? Yes, go to the appointment. Now that's a fantastic goal, but again, Southern California is huge, right?
Yes.
And I don't have the time to do that, especially if we're locking up stuff over the phone. It works out. So
that's great. Yeah, that you've been able to figure that out and do it effectively. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been working out good for us now, especially since we're all over Texas too. Been just doing that.
So how do you, do you want to get into that or roll with the questions that you had? I'd love to know, like, you haven't seen the property. Of course, you're going to ask questions on condition. And then you say, we're going to be somewhere in this range. And you're like, well, we need to be here. Then you settle on a number, you do paperwork, and then you send it out this, but you don't move. It's just, renegotiation. Hey, you told me it was this, and it's actually a lot worse.
Yeah, I wrote a different script recently, and it's literally all based off the book I just reread recently, and that's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay. And pretty much, I let the seller, it's their deal, right? So I give them the options, they pick the option. I tell them, you tell me what the condition is. We're going to go based off of what you told us, and then once we get the signed contract, and because it's no pressure, I realized I'd pressure the seller too much. Because we're salesmen, we have aim to like, go sign the contract. Let's go. You said you want this price. Let's sign the price, right? That's the thing that just bugs us. But anyways, it doesn't work out like that. So you let them. They sign the agreement. We send out our professional photographer. We get our photos back. We blast it out to our buyers, and sometimes we'll have our buyers go walk the property. We'll have the seller open up the property. They'll make the bids. And it's all from our office.
And they're fully aware that you're trying to assign this to other cash buyers?
Sometimes, yeah. So obviously Novation, they are, I like to say we have so when I give them a cash offer, I say us and the investors we work with, this is where we're going to be at. Right. So yeah, we just call them obviously our business partners and everything. I know a lot of people.
Person on site to make sure that a conversation doesn't happen between the buyers and the seller.
I really don't care anymore, just because we have the contract. If the seller decided to back out, there's two ways, right? We have the agreement with the seller, so we already have this legally binding contract. And if they decide to go with this other person, then it's like, it's too bad, you're in contract with us. Secondly, if the buyer decides to get squirrely, I'm going to have a conversation with them. I had I posted a video, I think it was like in the beginning of this year, ended last year. And I got on the phone, I decided to record it, and I just chewed this buyer out, because we had a property in this city called Desert Hot Springs here, and it was a good smoking deal. We were going to make $40,000 off of it. But I had this relationship with the seller. She said, "Hey, this buyer said blah blah blah," and so I called him and I ripped him a new one.
Nice.
And I was just like, no. And my dispo guy is super aggressive on that. So when he does get because he'll write down all the names that will be going, it'll be on a spreadsheet, and then he'll basically obviously let them know. Now, is everybody going to be ethical? No, but it's all good.
Are you given like the walkthrough times in your advertisements, or do you not give it, and then that's how you know who's going to attend because they have to come to the info?
Well, so what we do is we try to we see the feedback on all the people that want to walk it, and then we get that, and then once we get like the number of buyers, 2 to 10 or whoever, right? And then we schedule the time with the seller, and then we go back to the buyers that were interested, and we say, all right, if you want to go walk it, go at this time.
Cool.
Yeah, so
like that. That way you know who's going to be there, and you can keep them honest. Love it.
Yeah, but like I said, for us over the phone has been where it's at. Belly to belly, yes, you will always have a better conversation and probably buy properties at a deeper margins, 110%. And I always say, and the thing is, I know what it's like to get contracts and go in person, and I'm not afraid to do that. It just came down to my time and how I wanted to spend my time. But I know exactly how to do it. I've done so many of them. I've gotten so many contracts going belly to belly. But then we realized how we could get over the phone, and that's kind of where we're at now.
That's awesome.
But let me ask you this, Scott. So going back to the questions, Scott, what has you listened to or read that just completely inspired you recently?
I'm reading a book right now that is so good. It's called The Wealthy Gardener.
Oh, wow. Okay. What's that about?
I've read a lot of the books that people read, The One Thing. And, a few years ago when I started to get into wholesaling, I was just devouring all those books and like really into them. But I got to a point where I would read, the next one, and it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. It's kind of like heard all of it before.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, but this one is kind of like I'm there with a highlighter, it's all stuff that we know, but it's so well written, such a fun read, and it's kind of a big book too. It's kind of written in a modern day parable of this guy who's kind of made his money, and he's a gardener. That's why they call him the wealthy gardener. So then there's the people in his life that it's kind of like a guy in his 20s that has no direction, and then a guy who's retiring, and so he'll have these conversations with them and drop life lessons all over the place. And it's just like such a fun book. Brent Bowers recommended it to me, and it's a great one.
Now, this must have been written probably a good while ago, because the best books are written like 100 years ago.
No, I agree with you on that. This one it's a newer book for sure, but you can tell that he's read all those people. So, I mean, some of my favorites, As a Man Thinketh. I like that one a lot. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich. I used to like to listen to Norman Vincent Peale. Like all these ones from 100 years ago they're awesome. And I think The Richest Man in Babylon, that's one of my favorites.
I have that book, haven't read it, but I got to read that book.
Oh man, yeah, you'll enjoy that.
No, Scott, I couldn't thank you enough. Again, I know you're super busy. You were just posting here on social media talking about you and your acquisition guy grinding. Thank you so much for your time and adding value. Again, this is just a little snapshot of what your business and what you're all about. What I would encourage everybody to do is go follow, go bug, go DM Scott. He just told you he will accept your coffee invite. So please go have coffee with them. Go do JV deals with them. Scott, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, my Instagram handle is scottdalinger.realestate. That's what I try to put stuff on. I'm not great at keeping updated, but I'll try to put some stuff out there about our projects and what we're doing. And I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. And might be dangerous, but I'll drop my phone number. My phone number is 503-891-0643.
Holy crap. Now we will see. I know we will see this podcast go up. It's going to take, I think it's going to take a while, but your phone number, you better not change that phone number, my man. All right, brother. Hey, thanks again for hopping on here on the Real Estate Block podcast, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.